Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Welcome back to the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and today I'll be chatting with a 26-year-old bikini pro who's an online coach for lifestyle clients and competitors. She's a mama to 2 puppies with her husband and love of her life, Curtis Brown. She's a sponsored athlete and lover of all things food and travel. I am so excited to have her on the show. Ashlyn Brown, how are you doing?
I'm doing so good. Just, living my best life. How are you?
Oh, yeah. I'm awesome. I'm just so glad we were able to get all this going and get onto a podcast. For everybody listening, this is something we've been trying to work out the kinks, and now we're doing this, and I'm so happy. So before we even get started, I just want to know, this is something I ask everybody, what's the one thing that you do, a ritual that you have, or things that you think about right before your heel hits the stage?
Oh my goodness. So it's so weird. Have always been really, I get really bad anxiety right before I go on the stage. Anytime I've ever competed, I really get super nervous. My kneecaps will start shaking. That's really how nervous I've gotten before competing. So really the only thing that goes through my head and what I think about is to just relax and just have fun. Everyone looks so good, and it's just really intimidating to see all these women and look at yourself, and you're already so hard on yourself. You see yourself every day and you compare yourself to these people that you're next to, and you just have to talk to yourself and tell yourself, just to calm down, relax. Oh my goodness, someone's just knocking on my door. Give me just one second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait for that. Oh, I can leave it there. Okay. So, like I was saying, I usually just try to put myself in a calm state and just tell myself, you're already feeling so rushed. Whenever you go out on the stage, you have, right before you go out on the stage, the workers that are out there, they're telling you, you only have this many seconds, and it's usually they say usually it's 8 to 10 seconds. Very, very quick. You have longer than that. I want to say it's about 25 to 30 seconds on stage, but it goes by very fast. So you just have to tell yourself to calm down. You worked really hard for this, go out there and just do what you know how to do. And I can honestly say this past show that I did, well, these past 2 shows, the one I did in Vegas and the one I did in Miami where I got my pro card win, those were the first 2 shows that I was very, very confident. I was very relaxed. My kneecaps did not shake at all, which I just was so happy about that because it's uncontrollable. I literally can't control it. And so I was just really happy to be in a state of mind where I was very, very calm and very relaxed, and it felt right. I felt like I knew that this was my time. I knew I was supposed to be there. And so that was just, a really good feeling knowing finally I'm here. I'm about to go on stage and I'm not freaking out. So that was a really big, accomplishment for me that I was like, wow, I can finally say that, I'm not freaking out right now. And I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yes, that's such a good feeling, and I totally can relate to the shakes though. Sometimes I'm not even nervous and I'm just I don't feel mentally nervous, but my legs will be shaking. I'm like, what's going on?
Yes, it's so crazy. It's more of excitement, nervous, all of it. There's just so many emotions because you work so hard. So it's you've been waiting for this day for weeks and weeks and weeks. So you're just finally it's here. You've practiced your routine so many times, but I usually like before I go on stage, I'm telling myself, you know, like hit your steps, do your steps, because there's so many times that I will get on stage and I black out and I don't even like I'm going through the motions and I'm hitting my motions, but I'm not mentally there. Like I'm like just completely black out just because I'm so excited and so overwhelmed and so, you know, so many emotions that it's easy to do that. It's easy to just like feel, you know, all this excitement and nervousness, and then you just get out there and you just like don't even remember what you did. And that's happened to me before too. So the fact that it hasn't happened this year, I just feel so happy, and it just makes me feel like, wow, I'm accomplishing stuff like step by step.
Yeah, you're improving each time. That's super cool. So I want to like chat with you about a lot of like health issues that can come up with competing, or maybe, you know, with not taking responsibility for health, I guess you could say, during prep or even after prep. So we've talked about health on this podcast before, but I'm curious about how someone like you who has been competing and who recently earned your pro card, how do you stay mindful of your health during a prep and even after a show?
So I love this topic so much because health is something that is so important. And I feel like people use competing as an excuse to like not, to like kind of, I don't want to say it's an excuse to destroy your body, but if it destroys their body, they use that as an excuse. And I don't really think that
Mm-hmm.
that is a good excuse, because there are ways to be healthy during a prep. Is prepping and being in a caloric deficit for so long healthy for your body for a long period of time? Absolutely not. But is it okay? And can you do it in a healthy way for a short period of time for a prep? Absolutely. And I feel like people get misconstrued with this, because what happens is girls will go and they'll reach out to whoever they're reaching out to for a coach, and either the coach, you know, doesn't care about their health or just wants the money or isn't very knowledgeable. Whatever the case is, they will take these girls in, and the girl will be like, they'll already have a show picked out that they want to do, and say it's 4 months away, but they need a whole year. They'll still do the show. So the coach won't tell them. The coach will just be like, all right, well, then we'll just do what we need to do to get you ready for the show. So that right there already starts being unhealthy. Like you're already starting at a point where your body isn't ready to be put into a prep. And so once you get started into a prep, there is no turning back. So you just have to do X amount of cardio and eat X amount of food, which is usually like 800 to 1100 calories. And then after the girl does all this stuff, she's realizing like, wow, this is like, not only is it ruining your body while she's doing it, but it's making a huge, huge just dent in your mental health. Like you are mentally just unstable because you're doing all this crap to your body, and your coach is like basically allowing it and basically just being like, okay, well, this is what you wanted to do. You wanted to do a show. Yeah, but you're supposed to educate that person, and you're supposed to tell them like, look, like I don't feel comfortable prepping you for the show. I think that you need longer time. So this is what I think that you should do. And, you know, like if they fight back, then you can either just be like, all right, well, I'll prep you for a show, but you're not going to be ready. Don't put them through hell and make them, you know, have hormone issues and body issues and mental issues just because just because they said that they want to prep. Like you should be smarter than that as a coach, and you shouldn't do that to somebody. And I've had people reach out to me and say that they want to do a show, and they send me their pictures and they tell me what show they want to do. And I'm like, you can't be ready for that show, and I'm not going to prep you for it. So you have to just be mindful of that in the beginning, because that's where it starts to downward spiral. Because then all these competitors are posting their horrible, you know, experiences that they had and how unhealthy they were and how they gained all this weight after a show. But it started like that in the beginning because the coach allowed them to prep for a show like that and allowed them to, you know, do an hour plus cardio a day and eat 800 calories a day. And that's already ruining your body right there. So no matter what, after a show, that person is going to obviously go nuts and eat whatever they want, because mentally you are unstable and you like all your body is just starving and all you want to do is eat, which I've been there. And I've, you know, been, my very first show and my second show was like probably the worst. And that was just because I wasn't really educated in the sport at all. And I just had, a coach just do my stuff. And I personally did not try to educate myself. I didn't try to learn anything because I thought it was easy. I thought you just dieted down and then you were fine afterwards. I didn't realize the effects of a post show and how your body is in starvation mode. And then afterwards you eat all this stuff and your body hangs on to that because it's starving and it doesn't want to digest it because you haven't had those types of foods in your body for however long. And then your bloodstream starts going into your bloodstream, all the sugars and everything. And then your body starts craving that. And it's all you think about. It's not anything you control. Your body is smart. So your body knows these things and it does it without you even realizing it. You aren't craving these things because you're just a fat piece of shit. You're craving these things because your body is it's forcing you to think about those things because that's what you're giving it. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I can definitely attest to that. And I know after my very, very first show back in 2015, I had a horrible experience with that exact situation with really bad rebound. And the other thing is that we as competitors should be taking responsibility for doing that research beforehand, but also keeping in mind what you said is don't be beating yourself up for something that your body really needs. It's then about developing the literally personal development to have the mental capacity to go through it. I'm going to definitely do a total pitch here right now, but shamelessly, that's why I started my 8-week post-show program to help girls with that, because when we go through that mental change that occurs from seeing our body change or having those changes in hunger cues or wanting to eat so much, that can play a huge role, even like you said, through prep, on your mental health. And if we don't address it, then all the physical work is worth nothing. Because
Absolutely.
who are we without our own mindset, right? What's the point of it all? And you mentioned something really, really important, which was that you didn't actually educate yourself before. And coaches need to take more responsibility for educating girls. Some coaches don't really want to educate their girls. They think it'll make them think too much, but at the end of the day, they deserve to know, right? So, some girls don't realize, I'll tell you right now, I have hormone issues currently that I didn't even realize or take responsibility for during all the prepping that I did in the past year, because I didn't think, oh, whatever, I haven't had a period in this long anyways. I'm just going to keep going. I have this momentum. What does it matter anyways? I was totally it's kind of like when you love someone or something that you maybe shouldn't. And I forget what that's called, rose-colored glasses, or I was oh, it doesn't matter. It's fine. And I totally let that go. Mentally, I was okay. But then after all this, your body, like you said, it's going to signal to you, you need your health. You need something. We need to protect you, regardless of even if you have hormone issues. So how do you help? I know you coach athletes in this. So how do you help someone who is right about to hit post show, or maybe you're going to prepare them for that? How do you keep them in that mindset of sticking to the recommendation, sticking to the diet, or sticking to, reversing properly so that they don't have to deal with obviously a rebound and the constant thinking of food?
Yes, absolutely. So what I like to do is I basically prepare them before they even do the show. So during prep, I always I'm very, very close with pretty much all of my clients. I just love being involved. I love that as a coach. I think all coaches need to be really involved with their people. Otherwise, especially for a prep lifestyle coach, you don't have to be as involved. But for prepping, it is very, very serious. And I feel like that a lot of people don't take it very serious because so many people just want to do a show now. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's not being taken as serious as it should. And so with all my clients, I just prepare them, yes, you can have this, this, and this, but I'm also giving them cheat meals up until probably depending on their body type. I mean, even 2 weeks out from their show, they're getting an actual cheat meal. So I'm not, first of all, I'm not starving them. So they're already they don't really care about eating all the stuff that they want to eat after a show because I'm not starving them. So that helps them so much already. And then secondly, I let them, like, whenever I give them their reverse diet, it has fun things in them along with another cheat meal weekly. So it's like, really, if you can't stick to that diet, that's you at that point. Like, that's you just feeling like, you know, that you need to eat whatever. But I'm constantly checking in on them, you know, like, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? You know, make sure, and I'm very adamant about this, make sure you are drinking your water. Whatever you do, drink your water, because that is what's going to help your digestive system. It's going to help break up all of the crud that you've been eating. And it's just going to replenish your body. You need to be hydrated if you're going to be eating all those snacks and sugars. Your body isn't, you know, hasn't had those sugars in a while. So I just try to let them know the importance of, you know, staying hydrated and sticking to a plan after. And I usually give them, you know, 2 or 3 days, and I don't message them. I don't bother them. I want them to, you know, feel stress free. I want them to enjoy their post show. You know, like 2 or 3 days of like doing whatever you want is not going to hurt you. You can bounce back from that. As long as you're drinking your water, that's really all I ask. But, you know, like, I do my best to keep them educated, so that way any decision that they make at that point, there's nothing I can do to control that. I mean, you are who you are. You're your own person. I don't have any, you know, control over what you choose to do when I'm not around. But I do my best to educate. I do my best to keep them healthy so they're not starving and feeling like they have to binge after a show. And I feel like that if you do that during a prep, it makes life so much easier after a show.
100%. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's even like within the psychology of like eating disorders or restrictive eating or binge eating, dieting, all these things, right? There's like research that shows that restriction is what's going to lead to that binge. So sometimes even after a show, girls will like over restrict to the point where then they have those huge binge sessions versus like planning for a meal that they will enjoy, or like you said, working that type of thing in. So have you ever had like preps where I kind of want to go back and forth on this because there's another question I have about rebounding. There's a question I have about health. But yeah, actually, let me ask you more about rebounding. So what if someone has rebounded really badly, right? Like, how do you encourage them? Or what did you do when you have in the past, like, gone through a rebound? How did you go back to, like, getting it back, making improvements, and bringing an amazing package?
So I have actually rebounded pretty bad. I want to say I gained 14 pounds in like 4 or 5 days after a show. And my face was swollen, my legs were swollen. Like, I'm a very small person, and I usually don't get really affected post show. Like, I usually don't. Like, I've never had hormone issues. I've never really experienced anything traumatic, just because I'm always very, very consistent no matter what I do. But I did have one really bad rebound, one show, and I've never done it since because it was so awful. And, you know, like, I think I even have pictures and videos. I need to look back because it was really bad. Like, I was so uncomfortable. And whenever you feel like that, whenever your body's like that, you do feel like, how do you get out of this? Like, how do you get out of this? Because your mind is in a funk, and you are not motivated because you don't feel good. Like, when people don't feel good, they aren't motivated. That's why it's so hard for people that are overweight to lose weight, because it's harder for them because they are not as motivated because they don't feel good on the inside. So with that being said, you know, I personally, basically, I had to, your body likes structure, your body likes consistency. And I just had to tell myself, you have to get in a routine. You have to get in a routine. How do you prep for a show? You get in a routine. You eat 2 to 3 hours. Like, everyone knows how to do this. Like, especially if you're prepping and you did a show, like, you know how to be consistent. How do you think that you got on stage? like you know how to do it. People just freak out afterwards because they just gain a bunch of weight and they don't know what to do, because it is a shock. It was a shock to me. You know, like, it took me, and it takes a little bit longer for your body to adjust and get back to normalcy. It is very, very possible. It happens all the time. But it does take time. And I just tell my clients, I'm just like, look, all the best advice I can give you is to put on a sweatshirt, go to the gym, and do your cardio, drink your water, and eat your meals every 2 to 3 hours. And you will realize that your body will start adjusting. Little by little, it'll start adjusting. Like the more you stress, the more you freak out, the more you worry, your body is just going to reject and reject and reject. It is not going to want to respond to you because stress, your body's just so smart, and it knows that you're stressed out, and it knows that you are, worried about, certain things, trying to lose weight, trying to get off all the stuff that you've been eating. And then most people, it's like, oh, well, they feel like they gone too far, and they're just like, oh, well, there's no turning back. And then it just turns into, just a cycle for people that they can't get out of. And I always tell my girls, it does not have to be like that. It is not over. It's, you ate some stuff. It's just food. It's just food. You can work it off just like you can work. You just did it. You literally just proved to yourself that you could do it. So you can do it again. You just have to put yourself in a mindset that your body likes consistency. Just be consistent. That's all I tell my clients is the more consistent you are, the better and faster your results are going to be.
Yes, I love that. I think that's great advice. And it's something that so many of us know is necessary, but it helps to have a coach. Like it really helps to have a coach who tells you or guides you through that process, because otherwise, like maybe you do have some of those thought patterns come up of I've gone too far, or maybe you haven't gone too far at all. And you're literally just in this crazy funk where you're seeing yourself very differently than you are, and you're seeing your actions very differently
Right.
than you are. And that can also influence behaviors. Like I know like sometimes people will think that they gained way too much weight or they ate too much, and then they go into this crazy, like, I'm going to get back on prep right now, or I'm going to act like I'm on prep to like fix it all. But then they can't grow. Like they don't make the changes they need to make. So it's good to have someone who can like bring that objective perspective and be like, okay, like, like let's get you back to a normal spot and then like start building from there, so you can feel more comfortable, feel better. But one of the best things you said was that stress and worry doesn't help you at all. And I think like no matter what you're eating, like if you're eating your clean foods every 2 to 3 hours and you're drinking water, that's going to help you. But if you're even still stressing about that, your digestive system's going to be all off. So eliminating that is key. What do you like to do to like de-stress or eliminate that type of worry?
So what was the question again? I'm so sorry.
What do you like to do to de-stress?
To de-stress. Okay. I honestly, gym is my therapy. So if I'm not feeling it and I just like am in a funk and I feel stressed out about my body and stuff, I will literally do like a day cleanse. And what I mean by that, I don't mean like an actual cleanse, like a pill. I mean like a cleanse, like I will wake up in the morning, regardless of how I feel, what I want, I will literally put my feelings aside because I need to do what's most important, and what's most important is health. So I will literally wake up in the morning. I will go do like 35 minutes to 40 minutes of fasted cardio. It makes me sweat. It makes me feel better. It literally just clears my mind, and it makes me feel like I'm starting the day off right. And it's kind of just like a reset button. So I will go and I will do my fasted cardio. I will come home. I will eat a clean breakfast. I will, go about my day how I need to, take my vitamins, make sure I'm drinking a gallon or 2 gallons of water that day, because that will really, really help just flush out your system. And then anytime I ever do this, I literally feel so much better the next day. Like, of course, you're not going to be fixed in a day, especially depending on how bad you binge or where you're at. But for me, like, even if I wake up and I look the exact same, that doesn't matter. Like, it matters.
Mm-hmm.
what I do that day to kind of reset for me. So I just make sure that I'm eating my meals that day. I just pick a day where I'm just like, I'm just done. I'm just done with it. I'm going to, like, I don't need food. Food is always going to be there. Like, always. It is never going to go anywhere. I can eat anytime I want. Like, I don't want that to be a thought in my head. That should never be a thought in someone's head. Food is just food. Like, I feel like people freak out and stress about something that is always going to be there, and it doesn't need to be like that. So I just try to get my mind back. I know what I'm doing. I know that I need to do cardio. I know that I need to be consistent. Like, I know these things. And then, like, maybe I'll go have a date night with my husband, and I'll go and we'll get, I'll get like a steak, or I'll get like a clean burger and some sweet potato fries or something that, like, I still feel good about it. And I'm enjoying, time with my husband. So it's just little bitty things like that that can kind of like trigger you to get back into your routine. It just depends on how, you personally, how you are. But that's what helps me, is just forcing myself to do what I always do. Like, you can't just keep falling off every day and expecting that your body's just going to come back to normal. Like, that doesn't happen. You have to just suck it up and put in the work for, a week, and you'll be fine. Like, it really does not take that much effort to get your body back to normalcy. People just wait too long. And so usually it just takes them a lot longer because they're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then people will stop eating. And that's even worse, because people will, instead of them eating 6 times a day, they're eating 2 to 3 times a day, because either they're scared to eat or they're eating like junk. So it's making them fuller. And it just goes into a horrible cycle, because when you're doing that, your metabolism stops going. So it's going to slow down, and you're going to start packing on pounds, and you can't control that, but you're doing it to yourself, because your body's used to structure. You just put it through, a caloric deficit for, 10 to 16 weeks, however long your prep is. And you were doing cardio every day, and you were doing, eating 6 times a day, 5 times a day. And then you go from that to not doing cardio, to not drinking your water, to eating 2 to 3 times a day. And your body just literally shuts down. So, and it just stops. And your metabolism is not as fast. And so if you are not careful, it is horrible. But all you need is a routine. Just got to get back to it. It's so, so simple. People just are discouraged. And that's really as simple as it gets. Like, people are just discouraged because they see themselves in the mirror and they're not happy. And it's easy to feel that way, but it's easy to get back into a routine. You just have to get at it, and your body will start responding once you start fueling it and, doing the proper things to keep your body healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to that, I would say, like, definitely do this from a place of love for yourself versus like loathe. I think like people will look in the mirror and get so fed up that then they're like, I have to do this, because if I don't, I'm just going to keep getting like blah, horrible. And then there's so much negative energy around it, instead of just seeing it as an act of love, like to really take care of your body, to choose to move your body and nourish your body in ways that really support its functions and your personal goals, right? Like, take responsibility for your goals and honor them enough to say, like, this is what I need to do. So I think that that is really, really great advice. And I want to talk to you about like this past show that you had. And like, I personally thought like you looked incredible. I remember thinking like, I was following you before and I was like, if she doesn't get a pro card, like I'm going to be actually like physically pissed. Um, but of course you did. So then I saw your judges' feedback and I was like, wait, is this for real? Because your judges' feedback was to be more conditioned, like tighter, right?
Yeah, Sandy said that she wanted me to be a tad tighter.
Girl, I was like, I sent it to my boyfriend. I said, where? You looked so good. So I was like curious on your thoughts about this and how you're going to get ready for your next show.
Okay, so this is a great question, and I'm happy that you asked me, because
Yay.
I am super happy with my feedback. I know exactly what she means by being tighter. So you can do things to prepare for the stage that make you tighter other than just doing cardio or eating less. Like if I were to come in tighter, the only thing that I would change from this past show, like moving forward, is the meals that I eat before I go on stage. That's it. That's the only thing that I would change, and that right there would make me come in just a little bit more tighter. Usually I try to fill up a little bit more because I'm scared of being too lean on stage. Most of the pictures that I post on, my social media are, prior to me going on stage. So I am very, 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 very lean. But I wake up in the morning around 7 o'clock the day of my show, and I basically just eat all day until I go on stage. So
Wow.
I'm eating, yeah, I'm eating beef and rice, which beef has fat in it. So it is, putting a little bit more softness to my
Mm-hmm.
look because I'm always scared. I am naturally really, really hard when I shred down. I've been like that from pretty much any time I've ever gotten really lean. I'm always just look really hard. Um, and I naturally have just like the blocky 6-pack abs. I have never done anything to get those. That's just genetics. And so since I have that, I'm always really scared that I will get points counted off or whatever for coming in too hard, or coming in too lean, because they do look at that as well. So I
Mhm.
always try to fill up before I go on stage. I'll eat sometimes muffins, sometimes a bagel, sometimes I'll do rice cakes with almond butter, and then I'll do beef and rice or chicken and rice. So I'm eating, like every 2 hours before I go on stage. And um, so the only thing that I would change to come in just a little bit tighter is just to change my meals. I would probably do like lean ground turkey instead of ground beef. And I probably would take out the bagels and the almond butter and maybe just do, just plain rice cakes and just some chicken and rice, or maybe just some oatmeal in the morning. Um, Maybe a scoop of almond butter wouldn't hurt, but like I would just have to experiment because I've always, always, always pretty much eaten a bunch of food before going on stage because I wanted to fill out my muscles and I wanted to be a little bit more soft, to be a little bit more feminine looking on stage. So now that she said that, I I was actually I was surprised, but I was happy as well because I've always wanted to come in with the conditioning that I work so hard for. I don't want
Yeah.
to have to soften up in order to get the look that they like on stage. But then again, you never know. Like you really
Yeah.
never know. They could have picked somebody that's hard on stage. But I guess for my look, I've always just felt like the safest way for me to hopefully place is to not be as hard. So that's just what I've always done before I've gone on stage. And I mean, it's always worked. I think that I was a little bit too soft um, for USA's in Vegas, um, in my glutes and the hamstrings. I could have been a little bit more tighter in my glutes and my hamstrings. I thought my stomach was pretty tight, but
Mhm.
I had a really different physique for nationals. So I was like personally blown away when I saw myself on stage, like my pictures and stuff, because the day 2 days before going on, so I live in Nebraska and it's really cold here,
Mhm.
and I'm not used to this. I'm from Texas, so I've only lived here like 3 months, and I've obviously never done a prep here, so this is my first time in this weather, and my body was not really responding or tightening up the way that it usually does. So my hamstrings weren't really popping. Like all my check-in photos, I was really discouraged because they just weren't as tight as they usually are. And whenever I was doing my posing and I would do my back pose, I did not feel like my hamstrings were tight. Like usually, when your hamstrings are tight because when you do your back pose, you can feel it pull. And I really didn't feel that tightness. So I was getting
Mm.
really, really worried, and I was just like, man, I don't like. I've cut pretty much all my fat out. I don't really know what else to do. And so we go to Miami, and I'm water loading. I like water load the last 2 or 3 days before stepping on stage. And literally from night to day, I woke up the next day from Miami. It was Thursday, and I woke up tighter than ever, and it was the weather.
Oh my
So
gosh.
just being in the Miami heat really just tightened me up completely, and I woke up a completely different person, which was just the best thing ever. So, like there's just little things that come into play with, your body. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of got off. I feel like
No, you definitely didn't know. That was perfect. I was like
Okay.
taking notes. I thought that was very interesting because it's those little details, those little things. It's like it could be the difference between like flying somewhere and driving somewhere, or
Yes.
going to the bathroom before you go on and not going to the bath. Like so many little details that can make a huge difference, because like with everybody standing up there, like yes, everybody looks amazing, but what's that like little thing? What's the thing that's wrong, right? Because that's what they're gonna
Right.
look at. So it's cool to hear that even just the weather, like makes a difference. So um you also really love to talk about, and you share this a lot, which is so cool, developing an upper body, right? Especially an upper body that matches lower body physique. And I think you have some of the nicest shoulders ever, like for real. So I wanted to ask you,
Thank
like,
you.
you're so welcome. I know like developing shoulders like has been one of like, that's something I've been working on a lot, because I always had like smaller shoulders because I played volleyball. So I couldn't train them as often because I needed them for serving all the time and setting and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, once I got out of volleyball, I was able to focus on it more, and I've actually really loved seeing like the growth. But sometimes competitors do neglect this, even just competitors in general, no shoulder issues, whatever, or they just don't see growth as quickly in this area. So I'd love to hear from you, like, what is your favorite way to train upper body, like if you have a favorite way, that helps you to grow and develop that muscle?
So what has helped me, and this is so awesome that you're asking me this, because I used to stare at girls' muscles, like their shoulders and stuff, before I had met Curtis. I trained by myself. I always trained by myself. I never worked out with anybody, and I taught myself everything. So I just watched girls' videos like on Instagram, on YouTube, on whatever, and I just, copied what they did, and I never really saw any changes. I never really, no, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I've never like saw any changes or anything, and I never knew why. I just thought that my shoulders were stubborn, and I just was like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I thought that I was eating enough. I thought that, and I wasn't, by the way. So eating enough protein, tracking your protein is very, 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 very crucial. Like that is one thing that I can say has made a huge difference in my body, is tracking my protein. Like fats, carbs, whatever, like, yeah, you should be tracking that too. But protein is huge, because you cannot grow if your body is not getting enough protein. And so once I started realizing like, okay, I have to get my protein. Whatever I do, I have to get my protein in. So I started doing that, which helped me. And then I started training with Curtis whenever I met him, and he started isolating my shoulders. So I would start doing workouts that were just isolation to shoulders only. So I would have a shoulder only day, and I was using my traps more than I was using my actual shoulders. And I wasn't really activating my shoulders, because the whole time I'm thinking like, okay, the only way I'm going to grow is if I go heavy. Like I have to just suck it up and go heavy and grow. But my form was not good, because I was like trying to muscle up all this weight, and my form just was crappy. And that's a huge mistake that a bunch of girls make, that I've noticed, is that their form isn't good and they're not actually activating the muscle, or they're trying to go heavy, like they're going heavier with less reps because they think that that's the only way to grow, and it isn't. You know, like your muscles need blood flow. It needs, you know, like volume is huge. So for me, I do 15 to 20 reps of my shoulders, and I just put so much blood into the shoulder, into the muscle, and just, if I'm not leaving the gym with my shoulders just full of blood, then I don't feel accomplished. Like, you have to force blood into the muscle in order for it to grow. And I feel like so many girls, you know, stick to low reps, high weight because they feel like that's the only way they're going to put on muscle. And most of the girls that are doing that aren't even eating enough food for them to even be lifting as much weight as they were lifting anyways. And I'm not saying all of them are like that, because I don't know everybody, and I'm sure that there's tons of people that know what they're doing. But from what I've seen and who I've talked to and what I've noticed is that's most of their problem. It's just the fact that the form isn't good. They're not actually activating the muscle because they're too worried about the weight and not worried about their form. And that's just one thing that has really helped me. Now, when I do my shoulders, I'm sticking to lighter weight, so it's not putting so much pressure on me. You know, we have small frames. We're girls. Like, most of us bikini girls are small. So we don't need to be, you know, trying to do a lateral raise with 20 plus pounds. Like, you need to be sticking. I mean, it depends, because there's some girls that are strong and like they can do that and have good form, and that's awesome. To do a heavier weight and still have good form. But for bikini, you don't really need to go super, super heavy to get your shoulders to activate. You can stick to a lighter weight, focus on form, get more reps in, more blood flow, forcing the blood to the muscle. You know, that's really going to help your shoulders grow in the long run. And I literally just rep out lateral raise. Lateral raises are key to capped shoulders. I cannot say that enough. Like, I do lateral raises every single time I train shoulders, because that is what has made my shoulders grow. Lateral raises. With dumbbells or with plates or whatever you want to do, whatever variation you want to do it with. But that's a really, really, really good way to grow shoulders, is lightweight, tons of volume, lateral raise.
Yes, I've noticed a big difference in doing that in my training as well. Like, if I did like heavy shoulders, I wouldn't notice as much of a difference because of what you said before, which is activation is so, it could be limited basically. But when we can really focus on engaging the right muscles, like even the other day I had a training session and he was like, your traps are taking over, your traps are taking over. I was like, oh my freaking goodness, like what the heck? Like,
yes.
And you can feel it too, like especially if you realize like you're sitting down and you realize your shoulders like way up high, like you're probably someone who overactivates your traps. But
right.
like in the gym, like I totally agree with you, and I think that is really cool of you to even just share like the way that you approach it and the things that you do, because I think there are a lot of girls who want to be better, want to see their shoulders grow, want to have a more balanced physique, but just aren't really sure what to do or try. And I think I'd actually like to get your perspective on this. You know, some people want to like switch up their training like all the time, you know, like, oh, I'll try like the light stuff. Oh, it didn't work. Let me go and do the heavy stuff now. How long do you like to stick to something before you decide it's time to maybe try a different style, a different routine? Like, what's your protocol?
I think that the body, I mean, that's a tricky question because because I think that it would take a lot for your body to just not respond to something that you're doing over and over and over. Because I do think that your body takes a while to grow. I think that you need to be patient. I think that it takes months for your body to respond to a certain type. I feel like it's preference more than anything. Like, you may not feel like it's working because you've done something for like a month and you aren't getting the results that you want. But guess what? It took me 2 years to grow my shoulders. So I can't really say, you know, like you can do this for so long and it's going to work, because yes, everybody's body does respond differently to different things, but for the most part, your body will respond if you are just being very consistent with it and you're doing it for a long period of time. So say you try the lighter weight, higher reps, and you don't prefer it, then that's one thing. Like if you don't prefer to do that and you like lifting heavier, then do what you enjoy, because what's the point of doing something if you are not happy with it? But then again, like if you have been lifting heavy for a long period of time and you don't like the way that you look, maybe there's a reason for that, or maybe you aren't lifting properly. Like there's so many factors that could go into why somebody isn't seeing results, or how long they should stick to something before they see results, because it really just depends on how much effort they're putting into it. You know, like there's just so many factors that go into play with that. For me, you know, like my legs have been stubborn, but I have really, really concentrated on them the past year, and they've been fine. They've grown. They've, you know, like they developed shape. So I feel like, and I just feel like it could just be maybe they're not pushing themselves hard enough. Maybe they aren't doing the proper form. Maybe they aren't using mind muscle connection in the gym. They're just going through the motions. Like there could be so many different factors that come into play with why somebody isn't seeing results, or how long they should do something before they see results. Because I personally think that you should stick to something for like 6 months, the minimum 6 months, before you decide to switch to something else. Like I truly think that it just takes time and consistency for your body to start reacting to something and getting results from something. And sometimes that doesn't happen super quickly. And I feel like that's why a lot of people give up, or they get frustrated, or, you know, they just say it's not for me or whatever, because they're not even giving themselves enough time to really reap the benefits of, you know, whatever it is that they're trying to do. Because if I were to give up on my legs, I mean, I would have given up already, like a long time ago, because it took me a while to like grow, and it took me a while to grow my arms too. And I worked out every day, and I thought that I worked out hard, but you think that you do something until you work out with somebody else and they kick your ass, and then you're like, oh wow, like I thought that I was like kicking my own butt, and then I hung out with you and you kicked my butt, and now I'm just confused because I've been thinking this whole time that I've been I've been working hard. And then you just kind of see, you know, somebody else puts it in a different perspective for you, like you're really not doing what you think that you're doing. So it kind of just depends. Everyone's different. And I think, but if I had to give you an answer, I would say minimum 6 months to try something out to see if it like works for your body. If it's any less time than that, I really don't think that's enough time.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's like you could switch up like the exercises and whatnot, but it's really important, I think, to stay the course of like the style of training, especially if you're really looking to hone in on like specific types of physique. But I think it's really key to also like think of like the science behind it. Like sometimes it doesn't make sense, you know, because of the type of muscle, right? Like, is it a fast twitch? Is it a slow twitch? So what does that mean about the rep range? And how does that actually impact you? Because even if it means that you need to be doing, let's say, higher percentage of your 1 rep max, it doesn't really matter because you might not even be engaging the muscles. So the benefit isn't even there. So like throughout the whole entire testing period, it's like so important to just make sure you're activating it all, like doing the warm-ups, making sure that you can feel the muscles engaging. Otherwise, like drop the weight so you can actually get it going and make changes.
Right.
Otherwise, this and like you said, you committed so much time and energy to seeing your legs grow. Like you didn't just give up because you knew that's what you needed and what you wanted. And it makes me wonder, like, you know, sometimes women become doubtful, like after losses or certain feedback, or not seeing changes even, you know. So what do you do to keep yourself in a positive mindset and feeling really good about your own unique journey or changes?
So what keeps my mindset so positive and what keeps me going is the fact that, like, first off, if you are not enjoying the process, and I mean the whole entire process. If you're not having fun and this isn't something that you wake up and you're just so excited about every single day, it is going to be a lot harder for you. And I don't truly feel like competing is for everybody, but I feel like a lot of people just think that it's like show day is fun. So they'll put themselves through whatever they need to put themselves through to like go to a show and then look a certain way for like, a couple weeks. But to me, like, I don't think like that. I'm very like, I want this for long term and I want to do this for a really long time. And so my mindset is as long as I'm bringing a better package, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter what the judges say. And not like that. I totally respect the judge's opinion and I definitely listen and take their advice and do what I need to do, to impress them and to see like what they think that I need to change. And I definitely take their critiques, and follow them. But I don't ever get down on myself because I'm working very, very hard. I work very hard every day. I know that I work hard every day, and that's enough for me. Just knowing that like I'm bettering myself every single day and I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly improving and I'm constantly growing, like that's already super positive for me. Like it makes me happy to just know that like I'm doing what I love. Like that alone makes me happy. And so it really doesn't matter the placing to me. Like whenever I got 7th place at USA's, yes, I was bummed. Like I wanted to get top 5. I thought I was going to go pro. Like I thought that I looked good enough to go pro. And so when I stepped on stage and I was realizing the judges weren't really looking at me in first call, I was like, I can see them. And they were looking at other girls in the lineup, like, of course that makes you feel like it hurts. Like you're just like, dang it, like you worked so hard and they're not really paying attention to you and look, you didn't get top 5. Like but you can't compare. You can't be like, oh, well, I didn't get top 5, so I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough or I'm not, like you cannot not look at placings like that. Like you can't. And you have to be very mindful of this stuff. Like you have to tell yourself like it's subjective. So if they like somebody else's look that day, like that doesn't mean that your look isn't good or that they don't like your look too. That's what they were going for that day. And you just have to tell yourself that. And you just have to tell yourself, like, you've worked so hard. You've given this your all. Is there anything that you would have done different? Is there anything that you would have changed? And the answer should always be no. If it's yes, then that's on you.
Exactly.
Then you didn't do what you needed to do to prepare yourself. But if you can truly go into show day and know that if you did not place, it's not because of you, that's the only thing that matters. Like, as long as you didn't do anything to sabotage your own self, then you shouldn't feel bad about anything. You should feel happy. You should feel grateful for the experience and the fact that, like, you got out there and you did your thing and you did your best. Like, that's all you can do is bring your best. If you were bringing your best, then it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. Placing doesn't matter. Nothing matters. The only thing that matters is that you worked your butt off. You did everything that you could and you brought your best, and that's all you can do.
I love that. That is so true. It's kind of like even in the post show, like you were talking about earlier, like if you don't feel good, you're not going to be as motivated. It's like, so how can you continue to feel good? Well, doing your best is a great way to do that day in and day out. And I remember like sometimes people will ask me even now, like, oh, how did your last, show go? And I'll be like, how did you place? And I'm like, I don't remember. Like, I just remember it was like the best I've ever brought. Like I gave everything to that, and I think that at the end of the day is always more fulfilling. Like, respect the sport enough to do your best day in and day out, love it enough to make the effort without like holding your own self back, and like continuously improving is going to be way more fulfilling. Like, when you're 80 years old and looking back on it, I don't know if we'll necessarily remember our exact placing at our very third show or whatever, So, you have a really great mindset, and listening to you talk and hearing you talk is like getting me pumped up because I can tell how passionate you are about this, and I love your passion. I love how it's radiating out of you. So I want to know, like, what are some of your goals for you for your pro league career?
So my long-term goal is obviously the Olympia. That's something that has been a dream of mine for a long time, and I cannot wait for the day that hopefully I get the opportunity to step on the Olympia stage, because that would just be a dream come true. So that being said, I'm working towards that. So I would love to just be able to compete and focus on, you know, really, I just want to see, first of all, how I place next to the pros, because, there are the height parameters, so those will be taken away. Um, so, with my physique being how it is, how I want to see how it stands next to um, somebody that's, taller, that's like a pro girl that's taller. Like, I kind of want to see how my physique looks next to them. So that would be really, really interesting to see. I really just, I give prep my all because it's fun to me. It is, I'm very, very, very competitive with myself. So like, if I, like, I'm very like, even if it's 1 minute on the cardio machine, if I say I wanted to stop early, I would literally, like, that would haunt me for the rest of the day. Like, knowing that I just, like, didn't do that extra 1 minute of cardio. Like, and
Same.
honestly, that helps me. And it doesn't even, like, affect me in a way that, like, I'm obsessing about it. It's just like, I know that I'll be like that. So I already stop while I'm ahead. Like, I already don't do that because I already know that I'm going to think about it all day if I do. So that really helps me. And just like, dieting isn't hard for me. Like, I actually don't like having a lot of variety because it gives me anxiety. Like, having, like, trying to pick out what I'm going to eat for the day. If, say, I had macros sent to me and I had to, like, if it fits your macros, like, that would drive me insane. Like, I cannot do that.
Seriously.
Like, I really can't. Like, that get, like, too many options, too many varieties. Like, no, I just want the same things and I'll just mix it up how I please. But I don't want to have too much going on. It's too much to think about. So, like, I don't mind eating the same things every day. I don't mind doing all that stuff. So to me, the whole process is easy. It's really fun. I enjoy it a lot. I really like the seeing your body transform within, those couple weeks that you're doing the prep. It's really, really fun to, like, see your body change and to see, like, your comparisons next to each other, for your check-ins, and, like, week after week after week, you're just like, so just like, wow, like, I can't believe that I've changed so much in 1 week. And it's just an awesome thing to experience. And so I think just for my pro debut, I don't even want to take a lot of time off. I really just want to enjoy it and go into it with the same mindset I always do, just to have fun and meet new people and just grow as a person and grow in this industry. It's so fun to, like, go and meet people and, just experience, just the whole experience is fun. The traveling, the show day, the tan, the hair, the makeup, all of it. It's just, it's exciting. Like, I was a cheerleader growing up and we would have competitions, and the day of competition, like, we would all the girls would get together and we would all put on our little outfits and we would have a lady there doing all of our makeup. And, it just brings me back to that. And it just reminds me of, like, childhood, kind of, like, in a little way it does. And it's just really fun to me. And I've always enjoyed those type of settings. And I just think that this is going to be a really good thing for me long term. I got my first sponsorship by Tutu Swimwear, and I'm really excited to work with them and get my new suit for them. So there's just so many exciting things that are coming, and I just can't wait to be next to the pros and just see how I do. And I am going to do as many shows as I can that are, as long as I'm healthy, I'm going to keep doing shows. And, I'm just going to, it's fun. It's a part of my life. Like, it's not something that I have to really think about. It's usually just a normal day for me.
Yeah.
So to me, it really isn't anything crazy or dramatic or anything that I have to, like, really stress about. It's usually just like, all right, well, I guess I'll just start, eating clean every single day. Like, I already eat clean, but I'll have, like, 4 cheats a week or I'll have 1 cheat a week instead of 4 cheats. Like, my husband and I will go out and have burgers, a burger or a steak and a potato or whatever. And to me, that's like a cheat because you're like going out and you're like ordering from a restaurant. And so we'll cut back on that and we'll just do that, like one time a week. And really nothing changes. So to me, it's just like I get to enjoy my life. I get to focus on my business and I get to prep and look forward to a show. So that's really all it is for me, is just kind of like living my life.
Yeah, I love that. I think that obviously says a lot about you and your lifestyle and the way that you like this sport is literally just part of your life. It's not some crazy like I gotta get ready for prep, it's just like
Right.
it's already like a choice for me every day. So I think that that's really great and it shows how much you really love the sport as well. And it's brought you a lot of opportunities too. So I always like to kind of wrap up the podcast and ask like one final question being like, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's either thinking about competing, never competed before, or someone who is competing and is looking to get their pro card?
So the best advice that I could give to anybody that wants to compete or is competing is have fun. This is supposed to be fun. If you are stressed out constantly, if you change mentally into a different person, if you like say it makes you angry, or you are like kind of like putting yourself into like a little hole and you're not like living your life while you're on prep and you're not like and you're not a happy person, I don't think that competing is for you. And I don't think that you should put yourself through that just to do a show. It really doesn't make sense. I think that regardless, if you want to do a show, you need to figure out what exactly, why you're doing it, and if you're going to enjoy the process and if you're going to love it. Because if you don't love it, it's really expensive. It's really taxing on your body, just mentally and physically. Even if you're a strong-willed person, you have days where you just like, you want to break down. It's just how it is because you're just, lean and you're in a caloric deficit. And, like it is tiring. You get tired. And a lot of people don't really know how to manage that, especially if they're new, because it's like kind of a shock to them. So the main thing I can say is or the biggest piece of advice is that if you are not having fun and you are not enjoying every second of it, then I don't think that competing is for you. I think that competing is it's just a different life. It's a very, very different life. There's not that many people that, can stick to doing this for a long time. And I think that it's so fun. And I think that if people would get out of their own heads about placing and all that stuff, like I think that girls could have so much fun doing it because it is such a fun sport and you meet so many people and it's a great, great, opportunity to be able to do that and be successful in it. But, it is hard. So you have to go in with the mindset that like you're prepared for that. And you just want to go out there and do your best and have fun. Like that's really all you can do, is to bring your best and enjoy every second, because if you're not enjoying it, there is really no point.
Yeah, that's really, really solid advice. I love that. And I just have to say it's been a total pleasure having you on and having you share so much of your own personal insight, your personal choices, the way that you approach prep, growth as well, and the rebound recovery. Like everything you shared is so insightful, and I'm really glad that we were able to make this happen. So can you just let everybody know where they can find you, connect with you, or even share ways that they might be able to work with you, especially because the new year's coming up? So I'd love for you to just throw that out there so everyone can say thank you for being on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am doing sales all the month of December. So you can go to my, I do have a website. The link is in my bio on my Instagram. My Instagram handle is AB_bikini fit. And I do have, you can DM me on there if you want, or you can send me my email's on there as well. And my email is ashlynlittlefit yahoo.com. And then my website is ab- hey, sorry, I'll repeat that. My website for my link in my bio is ab-fitness.strikingly.com, and that's in my bio on my Instagram. So anybody can reach out to me. My portfolio and stuff is on my website. You can send me an inquiry. You just fill out the little questions on my website, and then it shoots it to my email, and I usually respond the same day. So
Awesome.
yeah. So yeah, I just that's really I have Facebook and stuff, but it's just my name, Ashlyn Brown. I don't really get on it that much, so I'm not super active. But my Instagram, I'm very active.
Okay, cool. That is really good to know. So to everybody listening, if you want to connect with Ashlyn, make sure to follow her on Instagram, message her there, or click the link in her bio so you can get all that information about the things she just mentioned. I'm going to put all that information in the show notes page, so you can go to www.celestial.fit/podcast. If you're listening to this way down the road, there's always the category section on the website where you can scroll and see each individual pro's episode, and you'll be able to find hers. So with all of that being said, thank you again so much for coming on the show. I am really glad that we made this happen. And to everybody listening, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this podcast. Just make it awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun talking with you.